Hello, Internet. You people have been talking about me. That's great. I wanted to take a moment to check out some of the comments.
With just 3 days to go until the launch of the Xbox Series S and Series X, kicking off the next generation of game consoles, we've decided to take a look back through the Xbox library of exclusive titles which have not seen ongoing entries like their flagship franchises of Forza, Gears of War, or Halo. Welcome back to Game Gentleman. In this week's video, we look at 10 forgotten Xbox franchises that deserve revisiting. We've also given our thoughts on which modern day studios could pick up these titles and do them justice. While we've taken the soon-to-be 23 Xbox game studios into account when making our choices, we haven't limited ourselves to first-party developers. Before we get started, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Number 10. RYSE, Son of Rome. Starting the list with our most recent title, RYSE, Son of Rome was a melee-focused action game developed by Crytek which launched with the Xbox One. The game's core premise was an almost rhythm-based combat system paired with various QuickTime-enabled execution moves visually represented by highlighting your enemies with the corresponding button colour. RYSE, Son of Rome had a lot of promise, but it didn't quite live up to it in execution, no pun intended. Most critics gave the game an average score, citing the game's repetitiveness as a major factor. So why put it on this list? Well, this is one of those games where a sequel could easily expand on the ideas and world of the first game, improving it in almost every way. Ancient Rome is a setting rich in political intrigue and narrative opportunity, so what if you were able to take this setting and the best of RYSE's combat mechanics and give it to a team like Obsidian who are capable of developing solid 25 to 35 hour RPGs with wit, depth and characters that you can invest in. Number 9. Brute Force. Brute Force was a squad-based shooter on the original Xbox. In Brute Force, players would control a squad of 4 characters, including a crocodile-like alien named Brutus, each with their own specialties such as stealth, sniping or assault. Players could play solo, issuing commands or switching between characters via the controller's D-pad or up to 4-player co-op. Gameplay was an over-the-shoulder third-person shooter focusing on action and combat. There are plenty of squad-based shooters in both first and third-person view these days, and the game could easily evolve itself into a competitive hero shooter like Overwatch or a live service title like Destiny or The Division. But we think that the game could really shine in an RTS format. Given what Splash Damage has done with Gears Tactics, we think they could handle a reimagining of Brute Force as a way to alternate between 2 Xbox IPs on a development cycle spanning a few years. Number 8. Perfect Dark Zero. Okay, I know what you're already typing down in the comments. Perfect Dark was not originally an Xbox franchise. The original was a spiritual successor to the highly successful N64 title GoldenEye and launched on that console in the year 2000. However, in our defense, the sequel, Perfect Dark Zero, was a platform-exclusive launch title for the Xbox 360, and Rare is a part of the Microsoft Game Studios family. Perfect Dark Zero continues the story of bounty hunter Joanna Dark as she tries to stop an evil corporation from getting their hands on a MacGuffin artifact which would endow people with superhuman powers. The game supported single-player, co-op, and a competitive multiplayer mode which supported matches of up to 32 players. The game was a very strong launch title for the Xbox 360 and received mostly positive reviews, with critics praising the game's replayability, graphics, and game modes, while criticising the game's AI and voice acting. While giving the title to Rare would of course make sense, we'd like to see someone like id or Machine Games revisit the franchise and give us their interpretation, doing for Perfect Dark what they've done for the likes of Doom and Wolfenstein. Number 7. OTOGI. OTOGI was a hack-and-slash title from Dark Souls developer From Software. The game follows protagonist Reiko Minamoto, who, after refusing to execute his own father on the command of the Emperor, breaks the seal between the human and demon worlds. Reiko is almost killed by the flood of darkness consuming Kyoto before being saved and resurrected in order to fight back against the demons. The game was published by Sega and released as an original Xbox exclusive in 2002 to some mixed reviews. While the consensus of most sites had the game sitting at around an 8 out of 10, publications such as Eurogamer and Game Informer scored the title around the 6s at time of release. The gameplay is quite different to what we're used to seeing in From Software games of today and plays more like a Bayonetta or Devil May Cry. The game was also a notable entry on the Xbox library for its use of destructible environments, a feature not all that common at the time. We could see revisiting this title going in one of two ways. From Software could jump back into the franchise using its more familiar Soulsborne gameplay style and do for Xbox what Bloodborne has done for PlayStation. However, From Software does already have the excellent Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. Where we think this title could shine is with a developer like Ninja Theory, leaning into the faster hack and slash gameplay mechanics. Although, with Ninja Theory busy with Senua's Saga and Project Mara, we imagine a title like OTOGI would be put very far on the back burner. Number 6. Viva Pinata. The second Rare developed game on this list, unlike Perfect Dark, Viva Pinata is a true Xbox title. Viva Pinata was released in 2006 for the Xbox 360 to favourable reviews from gaming critics. Players were tasked with tending to a neglected garden on Pinata Island, cultivating this garden to attract the island's pinata creatures. Players could then breed these creatures, send to friends over Xbox Live, and continue to cultivate and develop their gardens. Players must also tame sour pinatas and balance the donut of life food chain, or risk their pinatas being eaten by predators to satisfy their own growth requirements. Viva Pinata could easily be Xbox's answer to Animal Crossing, especially with the accessibility of xCloud allowing players to pick up and play on their mobile device. And who better to develop a follow-up to Viva Pinata than Rare themselves? Number 5. Banjo-Kazooie. Okay, we know, another title that was not strictly an Xbox exclusive. At least all of the non-handheld titles in the Banjo-Kazooie franchise appeared on Xbox consoles. For those unfamiliar with the Banjo-Kazooie series, and we welcome all three of you, the games are all 3D platformers where players control Banjo the bear and Kazooie the bird as they thwart the evil witch Gruntilda. The game was comprised of non-linear levels where players must solve environmental puzzles, navigate platforming sections, defeat opponents, and gather up the multiple collectible items hidden within each level. While we have received a spiritual successor in the form of Yooka-Laylee, which was developed by former Rare employees, and we've seen 4K updates in the Rare Replay collection, we've not seen a mainline title since 2008. Again, Rare would likely be the best choice to bring this back to life, however, another highly capable studio would be Double Fine Productions, blending their unique style and sense of humour with their intimate knowledge of platformers. Number 4. Project Gotham Racing. Project Gotham Racing was an arcade racer developed by Bizarre Creations out of Liverpool, England, and was actually a follow-up to Metropolis Street Racer on the Sega Dreamcast. Project Gotham preceded the Forza series by 4 years, and it would not be until Project Gotham 3 and 4 that Microsoft's now flagship racing title would be a competitor. It would also be 5 years from the last Project Gotham Racing before we would see the more arcadey spin-off Forza Horizon. Project Gotham Racing was about driving with style just as much as it was about speed. Players would earn kudos points for driving stunts such as drifting around corners, with each entry in the franchise iterating on the original with more dynamic tracks, an emphasis on using different cars for different conditions, and of course, better graphics. These days, looking back at the original Project Gotham Racing is much like looking back at the original Gran Turismo. Bizarre Creations was bought out by Activision in 2007 and would end its relationship with Microsoft with the release of Project Gotham Racing 4. The team would go on to make a few more multi-platform titles, but it would be closed by the publisher in 2011 after they could not find a buyer. As far as what studios could take on a franchise like Project Gotham, we could look at Playground Games, but the title is probably too close to the Horizon series and they're busy with developing the Fable reboot. Codemasters would be the next obvious choice with their pedigree in racing titles like Dirt, F1 and Grid. Focusing on the arcade style of Project Gotham would allow it to stand out from their simulation-heavy titles, while focusing on the street and road racing would differentiate it from the Dirt series. Number 3. Jade Empire. Jade Empire was a role-playing game developed by BioWare and set in a world based around Chinese mythology. Jade Empire's 2005 release date puts the title in between other legendary BioWare RPGs, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic and the original Mass Effect. Players would take control of one of 6 variations of the protagonist, commonly known as the Spirit Monk, in a wide linear world, partaking in main and side quests, romancing NPCs, and interacting through the game's morality system, which would be tied to Open Palm or Altruistic, or Closed Fist, which was more combative. Jade Empire received generally favourable reviews at the time of release and would later be ported to PC in 2007, Mac in 2008, and mobile platforms in 2016. BioWare has stated on the record that a sequel to Jade Empire is never dead, and they could certainly use a win after the disappointments of Mass Effect Andromeda and Anthem. However, with the fact that BioWare is busy with the development of Dragon Age, The Dreadwolf Rises, and the rise of Chinese development studios like Black Myth Wukong developer Game Science or Genshin Impact's developer miHoYo, we think it would be much more interesting to hand the game over to a studio closer to the heart of the source material. Number 2. Alan Wake and Alan Wake's American Nightmare. Alan Wake was Remedy Entertainment's third-person adventure following the titular Alan Wake, an author, as he investigates the mysterious disappearance of his wife in the small town of Bright Falls, Washington. The game blended moody, psychological thriller story elements with action gameplay and delivers it in an episodic format filled with allusions and homages to great horror works and writers such as Stephen King and Neil Gaiman. On the flip side to the original Alan Wake was the spin-off Xbox arcade title Alan Wake's American Nightmare, which focused more on action and combat and included a horde-like arcade mode. Both of these titles were generally praised at the time, and it's surprising that we haven't already seen a sequel in this franchise. Although, probably not so surprising to hear that Remedy used a lot of the ideas in gameplay and structure for their next Xbox exclusive title, Quantum Break. Alan Wake did make an appearance in the latest story DLC for Control called AWE, but it would be great to see him return to his own franchise. As far as developers who could pick up Alan Wake, if we were to lean back on the psychological thriller elements of the original, our thoughts go to a studio like Tango Gameworks. Alternatively, if we focus on the combat elements of American Nightmare, then the Coalition would be a prime candidate. However, no one can do a Remedy game like Remedy, and it would be ideal to see the developer pick up the franchise again, perhaps after they've completed their 2-game deal with Epic Games. Number 1. Jet Set Radio Future. Okay, so our number 1 pick is another title which isn't strictly an Xbox series. However, the last mainline entry for the Jet Set Radio series, Jet Set Radio Future, was another Xbox exclusive. Jet Set Radio Future continues the story of the original with players skating, grinding, wall riding, tricking and spraying graffiti all around a future Tokyo to take down the Rokaku Group, a powerful corporation led by the mayor of Tokyo, keeping the original's features such as soundtrack and art style. The Jet Set series has actually almost been revived twice before, with concepts being developed for the Wii and the PlayStation, but on both occasions Sega has turned down the project. You can also see Jet Set Radio all over former Xbox exclusive Sunset Overdrive, with developer Insomniac wearing their inspiration on their sleeve. Which brings us to what developer could possibly take on reviving Jet Set Radio. The obvious choice here would have been Insomniac, given their incredible work on movement systems in both Sunset Overdrive and Spider-Man. But of course, now being a Sony first-party developer, there's no chance of that happening as an Xbox exclusive. Vicarious Visions ported Jet Set Radio for the Game Boy Advance, and given their work on the excellent Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 remake, we think they're perfectly positioned to take on the franchise. And that's our list of 10 forgotten Xbox franchises that deserve revisiting. Are there any franchises or one-off exclusives that we missed? Did we cheat by including Perfect Dark Zero and Jet Set Radio Future? Let us know in the comments below. We'll follow this up with a video of forgotten PlayStation franchises in the coming weeks. As always, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and if you enjoyed the video, share it with a friend. This has been GameGentleman, and thanks for watching.